Yo, call me a trainer the way I break her back like I banged her. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Cage. Today, and only today, we are here to do my re-review of Sonic Movie 2. That's right, we were here about, what, 2 years ago now when I watched Sonic Movie 2 in theaters in April, and now I rewatched it on stream. A lot of you guys were there with me, and I have come to re-review it for you here. Also, sorry about my voice. I've just been yelling the last 2 days about Game Awards and announcements and everything, so mind my voice if it's a little shoddy. But yeah, I figured we would do another sort of, just discussion video going everything about Sonic Movie 2, how I feel about it over time, now that we have the perspective of Sonic Movie 3 coming and right being hot off of Sonic Movie 1. Alright, so let's talk about, again, some fun facts about Sonic Movie 2. Sonic Movie 2 very quickly greenlit after the success of Sonic Movie 1. In fact, during the hype cycle of Sonic Movie 2, they were already so confident in the viewership after its trailer reveal at the Game Awards in December of, I believe, 2021, that they immediately, 2 months later, announced Sonic Movie 3, and they announced a Knuckles spin-off. Right after the announcements and the movie came out, the movie on its opening weekend made $72 million, which was the best opening weekend for a video game movie, again, by the way, following the first movie that did that, right? And the international first movie worldwide, the second movie for Sonic, made $405 million, which is nearly double what the original run did. Obviously, at this point, Sonic was starting to grow. And also, keep in mind, I'll never forget this core memory of my life, right, was that night of Sonic Movie 2's original trailer at the Game Awards, right, Jeff Keighley followed that up right away with the first logo name reveal of Sonic Frontiers, right? So it was like a double feature of Sonic Movie's trailer and Sonic Frontiers. And I gotta say, man, the way they handled Sonic Movie 2's marketing felt so special, right? And I think I'll tell you the difference between Sonic Movie 2 and 3's marketing. That it felt like, oh, now we're really starting. Like, now this series is really beginning. And I'll never forget August 2022 when Idris Elba just posted that picture with the fist, right? And just said, knock, knock, right? And everyone on the internet lost it, right? Then you go 4 months later, right? A long way, we get our first trailer, and man, what a trailer. I will never forget that. The iconic shot of Knuckles holding Sonic, being like, do I look like I need your power? Boom. You see the tornado. Boom. You're seeing Labyrinth Zone. You're seeing the wedding shenanigans for a little bit. Like, I just remember watching that first trailer, like, oh my God, like, holy shit, Knuckles looks incredible. And I feel distinctively after watching this movie, and even when I saw, like, I still think unequivocally Knuckles' design is perfect. I would not change a thing about Knuckles' design. Genuinely, everything about it is the best looking character. I would argue, like, Knuckles and Tails are the two that are like the most one-to-one to their game counterpart and look amazing. Whereas, like, I know with Shadow and Sonic, like, they are characters that people love a lot, and so the changes in their designs are things people, like, will overanalyze a bit and try to fix. But I really do think Knuckles and Tails are really big. And remember, originally, right, we went into this movie thinking it was going to be Tails, right? The post-credit scene was Tails. Never thought it was going to be Tails. So the movie actually ends up being, funnily enough, an adaptation of Sonic 2 and Sonic 3's plot into sort of the modern story that they've got going on, right? That was special because, remember, coming off of movie 1, these are two very different movies, and I actually love them for different reasons, and because I was thinking when we just saw Sonic Movie 1, I loved it, and I genuinely thought it was amazing for being a fun comedy movie introduction to the Sonic series, right? But it's a fun buddy cop movie, but with some Sonic action elements. Whereas this movie, the iconic clip I remember when I left the premiere thing, that which is still surreal that I got to go to. I remember I left that theater and I said, that shit was a Sonic movie, because you watch Sonic Movie 2, right? And when you get to the main plot, like, everything about that movie felt so just over the top, right? But it is a movie that sets up a lot and sets a big foundation, right? But let's start. So basically, Sonic Movie 2, the plot this time around, Sonic has a family, right? You actually find out early on that Tom is kind of like Sonic's dad now, right? Because ending movie 1, you kind of see them as like best friends, right? Throughout the movie, they try to set their relationship, but here you could tell he's a kid, right? And one of the earliest displays of that is Sonic in Seattle. He's a bit more confident now, right? And you get to see this, and a lot of people like to criticize Sonic for all the references and stuff he makes, and I was like, it wasn't that many, and when he did them, a lot of them felt like they just made place for the moment they were in, right? But this movie, it goes kind of everywhere, right? So start of this movie is actually showing Eggman on the mushroom planet. He is in Mushroom Hill Zone trying to find his way back. Some funny, dialogue there, but some random hunters come through a portal with some swords, going after him. And I thought about that now watching it, be like, like there is a lot of different universes. And I know those warriors that come out of that portal are from the prequel comic. It's just interesting to think about that. Like there is a lot of worlds, man, and I would love to explore them. I think we are going to explore multiple universes by movie 4. I think that's where movie 4 is headed. That's my prediction. As we are about to head into the last movie, you are introduced to Knuckles coming out of a portal looking brutal, right? And he is looking for Sonic, right? He is looking for the homie, and they tell you that a little bit later. But I do like Eggman saying, "Would you like to know the way?" And he does a little reference, which is pretty cheeky. And then it cuts to Sonic in Seattle stopping this bank robbery, and that's kind of your intro scene, to him running around, flexing his speed, his moves. And again, this is where we're sort of starting to see Sonic growing up, but still being reckless, right? Because in this chase scene in Seattle, he's breaking things, he's driving a car, he's bumping into things. He's not really caring about the damage he's doing around him as long as he saves the day at the end, which, to be honest, is kind of like how Sonic operates a lot of the time, even in the games. Like sometimes he will cause damages if he's like, "Hey man, I did what I had to save the day," right? But obviously in the real world, there are real ramifications, which is why like that scene that happens after on the boat with Tom is still one of my favorite scenes in the movie, right? Him and Tom, like Tom tells him like he is responsible for others. Like you have to be someone who takes accountability and responsibility for, what's going on around you. And I feel like that's a thing that ends up being a lesson that drives Sonic throughout the moment. He even tells him like, you're gonna have your hero moment, and you can't pick it, right? It'll choose you. You'll know when it's gonna happen. And I love these Tom speeches that, he's such a good dad. Love moments like that with Tom so much. And honestly, the movie kind of gets started right away because you have Tom and Maddie going to Hawaii for Rachel's wedding, which we'll get to the wedding stuff. You have Sonic kind of fucking around in the house here, just having fun, just doing his thing as he does. But Eggman starts to do his thing right away, pulling up to the house at night. Still one of my favorite intros of the series, because even when Eggman gets into the place, he's like menacing, and you really start to see them have a back and forth. Because when we were watching movie 1, I felt like most of the back and forth were between Tom and Eggman. Sonic makes some comments to him, but it is nowhere near as much as Tom and Eggman. Whereas here, like now you have like the rival. Like Sonic is pissed that he's back. They're going back and forth. Eggman's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you," right? And then obviously he moves away. You get Knuckles pull him through with the punch, right? Already telling him, "Weak, you are unworthy, you ain't shit," Sonic, right? And then Sonic's like, "I'm unstoppable." Boom, into the clutch. Knuckles already showing his display of power, knocking him into the ground, pushing him onto wall, which again, now looking back at it compared to where we're at for movie 3, where they're having to stop Shadow in, Japan, where he's like destroying all of them, is just such a different version of it. You know what I mean? It's the stakes are so much higher. It's cool to see. And you get the reveal early on, which I thought was pretty cool, about how the Owl tribe, like Sonic's, where Longclaw, Sonic's mother, was from, and the Echidna tribe have been fighting for ages, for centuries, right? And obviously, because of what happened the day Sonic lost Longclaw, apparently is the same day Knuckles lost everything. And that's kind of a cool idea. I like the idea that sort of what becomes of Sonic and Knuckles were formed on the same day. I feel like it enhances them being brothers, right? Because, they both lost something important to them that day due to violence and fighting that they had nothing to do with because they were kids. And I commend the movie universe in general for talking about these subjects. Like we have Knuckles who's lost someone, we've had Sonic who's lost someone, and obviously we're about to have Shadow who's lost someone, which is going to be a much more brutal story in there. But obviously you have a fight, you have Tails pulling through in the card, working with Sonic right away, having that nice funny back and forth with them, sort of establishing the brothership as Knuckles is chasing them. But this movie does take some different detours throughout, right? Let's focus a bit on the Sonic and Tails dynamic. dynamic, right? So Sonic and Tails' true friendship, obviously, they're working together throughout the movie, right? But their friendship really starts in Siberia, right? We're in bar scene number 2. They're talking, they're bantering, they piss off these guys at the lounge, right? As Tails explains to Sonic that he's a stalker and he's always admired Sonic, but he's been watching him for years. But again, it's a movie, so they make it funny, right? And then these guys in the restaurant are pissed at them, and the only way to solve it is a dance off. Now, this is where this is one of 2 scenes in this movie where people are like, was this necessary, right? We have this dance off and we have the wedding scene. Let's start with the dance off. I think the dance off is fine, right? I think it is a funny scene. I think it's a cute scene. In fact, it is the scene where Sonic and Tails really become brothers, right? Because after the dance moment, you have Sonic and Tails having their heart to heart, being like, yo, like, Tails, like, you're my first friend. People bullied me growing up. I didn't have any friends and I looked up to you. So being here with you just really feels like an honor. And you have Sonic at the same time being like, well, I really don't have someone like me here. And so he's just really confident with him. He's like, hey man, stick with me, we'll have a good time. And like, still one of the most endearing moments in the movie is when Tails goes to bed, Sonic sleeps right next to him and Tails covers him with the tails, which I still think is so cute. But I think when it comes to like that fun dance segment, I think it's fun, but I agree that like in an ideal world, right? Like if I was making a Sonic movie or like one of the hardcore fans or, even Sonic Team or whatever, I feel like it wouldn't be in there. I feel like they would have found a way to have Sonic and Tails, figure things out by dealing with a fight, by dealing with a threat, right? But upon watching first movie and now second movie, I do remember that these movies are still family-friendly films, right? Like even the third one, with all the jokes they crack in some of the trailers, for as serious as these movies get, they are family-friendly. Like these are movies that, kids are gonna grow up watching. They laugh at these moments. They enjoy them. The same way that, we grew up enjoying a lot of fun stuff. And I'm sure when I was a kid, I would have like lost my mind at that dance scene together. I would have been cheering, right? But obviously when I watch it, I'm like, that's cool. This is cute, right? It's a fun way to do things, right? It's perspective. And I think the team at Paramount with movie 2 and 3 especially, because remember, Tyson Hess is in movie 2 as a supervisor. He helped write stuff. He helped with the ideas, and he's a big part of the reason the story is why it is, and including work on movie 3. And you can tell they want to find a balance between how do we make a fun, family-friendly movie that like adults, parents, and kids can enjoy, as well as the fans, because the fans, of course, are the most important people, and you can tell that by what they're doing with movie 2 and 3 especially, right? Because I feel like you do have to, I don't know, when you make a Sonic game, I feel like you're just appealing to gamers, right? Obviously, you'd like if an adult or a kid played it, but at the end of the day, you're appealing to a gamer who's playing a game for the most part, and you want them to lock in when they're playing. Whereas here, you want people to have fun, grow up with it, and sort of get that wide appeal. Meanwhile, you start to see the Eggman Jim Carrey dynamic, and man, I gotta say, right, Jim Carrey continues to be a highlight in these movies. You are starting to see Eggman in this movie. He is getting into that crazy Eggman territory, which I love so much, right? His dynamic with Stone is much smaller this time around, right? Which obviously, to be fair, Stone is a supporting character, but he actually does a lot more on his own in this movie. But I do love the scenes between Knuckles and Stone, because one thing that's really cool is before this movie and Frontiers and stuff, like we were kind of in the trenches with Knuckles for the longest time, right? Forces, he was kind of like whatever, problematically written because of the plot. Sonic Lost World, he's sort of cast aside. Generations, he's cast aside. Sonic Boom, he was reduced to big dummy, right? And so for the last basically 15 years, we had no real cool adaptation of Knuckles, right? And so 2022 rolls around, we get Idris Elba Knuckles, who I think does a good job of being a knucklehead, but also being smart. Like Eggman, Agent Stone are planning things, right? And Eggman's like, let's go, Knuckles, right? And then Knuckles is like, what about, your teammate here, the goat milk guy? And he's like, let's ditch him. And then Knuckles is like, dishonor, right? And like right away, just something like that, I'm like, that's awesome. That like Knuckles is not just like a dickhead. Like you can tell right away he shows his values on his sleeve, because he even does that when he talks to Sonic later, like after they do the little ice cap race, right? You have Knuckles telling him like, I lost everything because of your tribe and everything. You can't tell me I haven't lost anybody, right? And when he sees Sonic saving Tails over, saving like the compass or the map, he notices that, right? And Eggman's like, oh, whatever. People like that are always gonna pick the wrong thing, and Knuckles just looks at Eggman suspiciously. Like, Knuckles is not a bad person. He's a hurt person, right? Who thinks he has to bring honor to his family, you know, and continue his legacy and do what he must and get the Master Emerald, right? But he's not here to cause trouble. But we have to talk about this moment, right? This has been like, I feel like for years, this is the most controversial scene in this movie that some people adore, some people think is hysterical, some people think it's awful and the worst part of the movie, and that is the wedding scene. And it's actually important for the lore, right? Because when Sonic comes through the portal after leaving, you know, Snow Ice Cap Zone, which, by the way, very cool that they did an Ice Cap Zone showcase. Gunn is secretly arranged Rachel's wedding to ultimately get closer to the Wachowskis and get Sonic, which is unreal. Like, I still think in the movie that is probably the funniest moment when Rachel finds out her wedding was a fraud, and there's that funny moment where she's like, all of you are agents, like even you, and they go to like the little pastor guy, and he opens it and he has the gun in it, which is funny. Even, you know, the husband she's marrying, what's his name, Randall, he's an agent. You all find out that Gunn was established after the events of Sonic movie 1. So Donut, like, Olive Garden guy shows up and says, we established Gunn after this, you know, to defend the planet from extraterrestrials like this guy, right? So they put Sonic in prison, and that sort of begins this. Rachel and Maddie are trying, they go to save Sonic, they do some back and forth, they talk, then Rachel goes back, you know, she gets to this card, she goes to, you know, attack Randall, right? Randall's like, wait, no, I love you, I fell in love with you during this. Olive Garden guy is threatening them, he jumps in front of him trying to tase her, he tells her like, I fell in love with you during this. I don't know, like, it is a scene that I think, I do agree it goes on too long. I'm just gonna say, like, I think it is funny, it is entertaining, but it's a scene that goes on too long. And I'll tell you why. When it came to movie one was always either Eggman or Tom and Sonic, right? They were always together and connected. And I feel like because Tom has a connection to Sonic, and, you know, Jim Carrey has a connection to Knuckles in the movie, and he's the main villain, stuff, felt like what they were doing always mattered to the main plot. You're not really invested in Rachel's life, but again, it's entertaining, and I know a lot, and I mean a lot, of adults and parents love that scene, right? They genuinely adore that scene. They think it is one of their favorite moments in the movie, because you have to remember, like, casual people, and again, this is where I'm trying to come from, where like these movies are appealing to casuals and fans alike, is like, with casuals, they're watching a movie just to watch a movie and be entertained. They're not like us, where we go and being like, oh, this is taking away time from our Sonic game. Like, they're there for everything. And so for them, they die of laughter during these scenes, and they're okay with them, because they're not sitting there being like, bring back the Sonic guys, you know? That's what we do, right? I think it's going to be a valid criticism, right? I do think in movie 3, it looks like there's a lot less of the humans just doing regular stuff like by themselves. They're still part of the core mission. But that does end there, because right after that, from that point to the end of the movie, it is lock in a clock. It is, you know, Sonic is free. He runs through the water to get to the Labyrinth Zone. You have a cool set piece of Knuckles and Eggman running through Labyrinth Zone, jumping through all these traps. You have Sonic going through. One of my favorite moments is you see him going down that like giant water fountain like he does in the original Labyrinth Zone, which I thought was really cute. A lot of good video game stuff here too, by the way. Like Sonic saving Knuckles from underwater. He like sucks in a water bottle to get extra air, which I thought was super cute, right? Him saving him. And of course, after Eggman loses his mind, one of my favorite moments in this movie is Knuckles and Sonic on the beach together, having their heart to heart, being like, dude, like, of course I was gonna save you, you know? And then Knuckles like, why? Like, I've been chasing you. It's like, because you know, you're not a bad guy. You know, it's like, it would be wrong to just leave you. And they have a back and forth being like, you know, like, I do respect you, right? And Sonic tells him, like, you can have another chance, right? We both lost something, and I was able to make a family and a life here, and so can you. And so right away, they established they're a family together. And I was talking about this on stream, like, it's gonna be so interesting seeing what's gonna be the tick for Shadow. And my theory is, right, when watching this, it's gonna be interesting to look back at this review, is because the Chaos Emeralds give you the power of what you think of, like Eggman, you know, wanted like crazy powers. Sonic, you know, thought of a glizzy and he got one, right? I think Shadow is going to wish and try to think of why was he doing this mission in the first place? And that's when he's gonna remember Maria's memory, right? Which is to protect the planet, right? I don't think he wants to have a family. I don't think he wants to work with Team Sonic and make friends. I think he just has the mission to protect the planet when he needs to. They're really good stuff. But then you go, dude, you lock in onto Team Hero stuff, right? Where like all three of them are fighting the Death Egg. And honestly, the Death Egg, one of the coolest parts of this movie. I love how they took the Death Egg from Sonic 2 and made it like this massive thing. And you even have Eggman revealing, like, yeah, I'm gonna rule the universe, the multiverse, and everything, right? And who knows what's next. And you establish right away, he wants to go over the multiverse, so he does want to go to different planets, right? Eggman never saying he wants to kill or destroy everyone. He wants to rule. He wants to flex his power. Like, he is... I don't know, like, he's not someone that just wants to destroy people. I think he'll destroy people that get in his way, right? But he is someone that wants to rule. He wants to prove himself, right? Whereas like Gerald and Shadow at this current time are more destructive forces. So it's still cool to see that continue to be established between movie 1 and 2. And I gotta say, man, the Sonic Heroes moment of this movie where all three of them are running, incredible. Moves together. It is so cool, right? I love so much of it. And I gotta say, first movie, definitely funnier for me. I thought the movie 1 throughout was very sarcastic, funny, a lot of fun burns and back and forth. Whereas movie 2 was like, all right, I got some good laughs out of this, but it wasn't as non-stop funny as movie 1. But again, that's traded off due to lock-in-ness, right? Fight moments. And of course, this movie ends in a way that I'm shocked that they didn't market this at all, because one of my favorite hidden moments of the movie was, yes, so Sonic, you know, hit into the ground, tired, destroyed, right? You know, you have Knuckles that has knocked the Master Emerald out of Eggman, fallen into the ground. He has Tom and Maddie that come to save him. They're all laid together on the ground being like, yo, we're a family. Whatever happens to us, we deal it together. And that was such a sad moment, because like, damn, bro, they're ready. And then boom, Super Sonic willed into existence. And man, I gotta say, what I love about Super Sonic in this final segment is it is not a display. It's not a fight. It's a display of power, right? There's no moment where Super Sonic is challenged in that fight. You know, Eggman tries to go for the punch. He stops it so quickly. He goes through the entire Death Egg robot doing crazy maneuvers, doing crazy tricks on it, right? I love that moment, and I'm glad they save it, because we know they're going to do Super Sonic again. And of course, they got to do Super Shadow. Will they fight? I pray every day of my life. And then you see the emeralds phase out of Sonic after, you know, he gets a glizzy, and I love how the glizzy falls on Knuckles. One of my favorite bits of the movie is Knuckles being like, wait, stand back. That is no longer the hedgehog you once knew, right? And then he gets a glizzy from the sky, you know, it tosses on Knuckles. All right, never mind. He is the same. The ending is Sonic, Knuckles, Tails in the baseball field together, where Sonic had no one in the first movie and now has a full family. He has a mom, he has a dad, he's got Knuckles, he's got Tails, and himself, and it's like a brother and a family, and of course Ozzy. Don't forget Ozzy the dog, a very cute character. But yeah, no, I was so happy with this movie. You know, I was so happy watching this. I was like, damn, bro. And of course, you end with the Stars in the Sky song. That's super good. Like, it's just, I love so much of the movie, really, man. Like, what a good time, man. What a love letter to the Sonic franchise. You really felt like you saw a real video game movie done super well, which again, we don't see that often, right? And so it's so fucking cool that we got of all things, a Sonic movie, right? Getting an incredible adaptation. And it was really clever the way they incorporated elements, but it's still within this movie universe that does stuff differently. And I still think, yes, Sonic as a character is not fully what Sonic is in the games yet, but I do feel like in this movie he was a little bit cocky, he was a little bit more confident, he was a little bit less ADHD pilled, has a family, and of course the post-credit scene of this movie revealing Shadow. I'll never forget that hype moment in the theater, right, where they're just like, we found coordinates to a project that leads from 50 years ago. And I remember being in the theater like, there's no way. And then of course, coming out of the ground, Shadow the Hedgehog into the lightning eyes, boom, fade to black. And here we are now 2 years later, about to watch Sonic movie 3. But overall, I loved Sonic movie 2. I think it has some more pacing issues than I would have liked. I think the middle area sort of goes on for a bit. Wade is in the movie. Wade is funny in doses, right? I will say that, right? He's always going to be in these movies. He's funny in small doses, which is why I don't like in Knuckles where he takes the full scene. But yeah, overall, fun family moments. Of course, let me know in the comment section below what is your favorite scene. But overall, man, loved Sonic movie 2. And that was really the moment where I'm like, oh man, they have something special here. What can we do next? And that's why we've been speculating so much, because it felt like they were building a universe. And that's when they started talking about it. With movie 2, they're like, yeah, we're building a universe, right? And so now we started the talks of Shadow. What's next? Is it Silver? Is it Blaze? Is it Amy? Is it Metal? There is so much shit they can do, and I'm so excited to see it all unfold. And I'm so excited that the next review we're going to be doing is going to be Sonic movie 3. I cannot wait. It's gonna be awesome. I'll probably do a spoiler-free review and a spoiler-filled review going over all the details and stuff. So guys, thank you all for watching. You're the best. I love you, and of course, I'll see you all next time. Peace out.